Now, the former US ambassador to the UK, Woody Johnson, said something that was considered to be quite controversial at the time. He warned Prime Minister Theresa May that there would need to be trade-offs as the British government divvies out spending across things like health, education, transport, with defence and security. And I'm afraid, folks, we're seeing with crystal clarity what getting that balance wrong looks like. And how right the warning from our American cousins was. You cannot have prosperity unless you have security. And you cannot have security if you prioritise spending on all other areas but defence. We all want better hospitals, better schools, better social care, better pensions and better transport. But we'll not have access to any of that, folks, if we allow our nation to continue to dwindle away its share of GDP spent on security. President Trump was best known in Europe for his robust stance on the need for for all of us actually, to stump up our bit to spend more on defence. And his warning on national security grounds that the Nord Stream 2 pipeline connecting Russia to Germany was a stupid move. He even sent former Chancellor Angela Merkel a mini white flag to highlight what he deemed to be an act of economic surrender in the binding of Europe's hands economically to Putin's energy supply. It was wrong to assume America can keep the world safe on its own. Europe now has to play its part. It beggars belief, folks, but it wasn't even a couple of months back that our nation, leading the world in preparing Ukraine for this invasion, didn't request permission to fly through German airspace to deliver weaponry to Kiev for fear of the Germans saying, "Nein." Now the whole of Europe is waking up to the threat of Russian boots on their continent's grounds. The Australians, recognising that President Xi of China is watching intently of how the West allows Putin to get away with what it's doing in Kyiv, licking his lips at the prospect of marching into Taiwan in a similar territorial land grab. And then who else will they attack? You know, prosperity is utterly worthless, I repeat that, folks, if we're unable to defend it. So our Aussie cousins are increasing their spending on its armed forces by a third. We could start by protecting our NHS, by preventing the abuse of taxpayer money that's wasted on a growing middle tier of NHS whackery and wokery over spending on doctors and nurses. It's reported that the NHS is spending 60 grand hiring equality and inclusion managers, as well as ditching our net stupid energy policies in favour of one that marries security of our supply, keeping our economy's lights on, and taking into consideration the realities of geopolitics. We also need to snap the Treasury from this view it's held for many years now. It's been a view that in 2010 led to a plan to cut the defence budget, reducing our fighting force by about a third. A view that saw the kind of invasion we're seeing in Ukraine as an anachronistic relic of the past. How naive, folks. How foolish we've been. We know that we cannot borrow more. There isn't a payday lender we can use to top up the nation's current account. Like many of you out there watching the show right now, times are tough and are getting tougher. I dread opening energy bills, and I know that's the same for many up and down the country. Even our Treasury is feeling the pinch. So we have to make tough decisions on spending now. As the Americans reevaluate their turn to Asia to head off the Chinese threat, we have to recognise here at home that in order to play our part, we'll have to be honest about the tough choices required. But what I will say, folks, is my God, how wrong those commentators were on our own shores, who said post-Brexit Blighty would be diminished as a nation, unable to totter about on the world stage without the Brussels conglomerate holding their hand. Who do the Ukrainians credit with their military success thus far? It's Britain. Who signed a deal to share nuclear submarine technology with Australia? Britain. Who's potentially joining the economic might of the CPTPP trading bloc, a Pacific trading bloc? Britain. We, folks, are doing pretty well here. We might be small in size, but as usual, punch way above our weight. But folks, in order for that to continue, we need to get real on spending more to protect the prosperity that pays for that healthcare, education, social care, universal credit, education and much else. And one more thing, folks. It's reported that Ukrainian soldiers say, "God save the Queen," as they fire these NLAW anti-tank launchers, which are made in Northern Ireland. If we want to continue seeing our monarch and our flag stand for freedom and liberty, we need to spend to defend. What do you think, folks? Is it time to spend more on defence?